Next we have NFTs in novel use cases, and I would love to welcome to the stage Becks, Genevieve, and Q. Thank you so much. Let me just check this over. Yeah, thank you.
So you guys ready for us? Thank you very much for coming and joining us. And I am so glad to welcome you and also welcome my fellow panelists. So if you haven't heard of Becks, her Nifty World NFT is amazing. I've actually said to her I spent 8 hours learning what I needed to know through this. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Kuna almost 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, babe. And we got to meet online.
Oh, yeah.
And really, we all are somewhat involved in there. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we will take you through the journey of what we think is the new way we're going to be looking at NFT, really beyond music files and JPEG and how they can make. And I believe that Becks will take us through the history and also what she's seeing, and Q will tell us what we got to look for. And I'm just going to tell you what I see the farmers doing. Thanks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for sitting here and listening to us talk about NFTs with you. I'm Becks. I am the founder of Nifty World NFT. We are an educational platform which makes NFTs easy for everyone to understand, and we also work with Web2 businesses, onboarding them into the Web3 space. And you know, one of the big things that you guys probably haven't seen here today is a lot of British people coming and speaking. Actually, it's probably a bit unusual, but I'm really pleased to have taken the flight over to come and chat to you guys about where I see the future of NFTs going. And I'm not here to teach you to suck eggs and tell you what NFTs are and what the landscape has been, you know, a year or so ago, because I think we all know that. But what's happening right now is quite an interesting turning point in the world of NFTs. If we think back to 2017 and 2018 and the early emergence of the CryptoPunks, you know, those were being given away for free, right? And we're seeing that right now with like Goblin Town and things like that. So we're seeing kind of a weird cycle happening. But actually what's really exciting about NFTs is how the technology is moving beyond this kind of PFP, art collectibles kind of space, and looking at activations where brands can really, those Web2 brands can really utilize the technology and work with their current community, their audiences, to really develop that in a future-proof way. And I have to say, if anyone here today has been to the Cool Cats Cooltopia event, this for me has been a really great example of an activation of a current NFT project, which is giving you guys this kind of foresight into what NFTs can actually do for the future. So walking into Cooltopia, which is on 5th Avenue, you're essentially walking into something that's kind of like a theme park, which is an IRL activation of a digital asset. And those who aren't wallet holders of Cool Cats are actually still invited to come in and participate. And that is a really clear onboarding space for new people to kind of ask those questions about what NFTs are. You're given wristbands so you can earn points, so you can go and pick up merchandise, which helps, you know, really spread the news about that particular brand and NFT project. And then for wallet holders, you get that new added benefit as well. And if anyone went to the talks this morning with MoonPay, with a number of other brands that were talking at the Coinbase conversations this morning, we'll see partnerships with Universal, partnerships with Selfridges, which are showing how activations are taking those Web2 brands and utilizing it and making them understand in a better way what NFTs and those kind of tokens and access tickets can do for those particular communities if used in the right way. And I think as we're looking at that progression of the future of NFTs, this is where we should be looking, is this new mass adoption. What is going to happen, and how are these businesses going to be getting it right?
I mean, I don't even know where to even piggyback off of that, but everything that Becks is mentioning is 1,000% correct. I'm curious to know how many people in here do not know or don't have a depth or a knowledge of NFTs? Because I know this is NFT.NYC. So, okay. So we do have a couple of people. So my name is Q, and I'm the founder of TAP. And our platform is essentially connecting everyone that works in entertainment. Our website is tap.EC. EC stands for Entertainment Contractors. And what our platform does, or is doing essentially, it's connecting every person that works in any of the 8 entertainment verticals in the world in one place. And our platform is backed by Hugh Jackman, Octavia Spencer, Rami Malek, a ton of celebrities and whatnot, because what NFTs has the power to do is to place ownership back into the hands of the creators. And that's what we're here to do. And as what Becks was mentioning, these partnerships are stemming from to include Disney, Universal, Columbia Pictures, HBO, Hulu, Netflix, and whatnot. It's interesting to see the convergence and the merge from W2 to W3 and to see how these brands are starting to make that move as well.
So I didn't tell you about me. What I've actually done is I've created a platform for smallholder farmers. We did a project in Haiti with the World Bank where we allowed farmers to be able to have access to market. So you could say it's a simple supply chain. But what we found was that we were able to increase their income by 750%. Now you start wondering, well, is there an opportunity to take those lots that they're creating and giving them liquidity and capital prior to the goods being sold? And we are also looking at how producers, be it wine producers, wheat producers, how can they evidence what they're doing and be part of this digital economy? So really we're looking at the digital transformation. And NFTs, if we remember, right, it's about data. So we should be also starting to think about this. Right now, when you write an NFT, you write data and it stays this way. But now we have what we can call enterprise NFT. So the idea of the enterprise NFT would be, how do you add additional data as the item goes through? And this is really, for me, this was, I had a call, I was actually on a panel with Becks, and she said, why aren't you going to NYC? I said, sure, but you're going to be there with me. Because really, we all are all accountable to understand and then teach our regulators. Because how can this information be used to create capital, liquidity, so that I can actually, if I know I'm going to make 30,000 this year, I can go to the bank and get a loan for 5,000. So why not have the same concept of evidencing what the farmer or the movie star is doing, or even the artist, and then allow her or him to borrow against that? And it's really then really taking into finance and how we can finance this. You want to talk about the IP issues?
Well, the IP issues are, they're still somewhat complex because there are no laws around it right now, right? There aren't no laws that essentially say what you can and what you can't do in the NFT space. However, there are pre-existing laws that can prohibit you from taking brands that are registered and putting them on an NFT and trying to get ownership of that NFT. There's technologies in place now where you try to upload an item and trying to register it as an NFT, and it scans it for any intellectual property matters. Now, how accurate are these softwares that are being created today? I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, 0.2, right? Because there's over hundreds of thousands of registered trademarks and brands and names that you might have not even heard of. And to have a software to be able to scan all of that in, let's say, a minute or let's say a day is close to impossible. So the issues are quite wide.
I just wanted to kind of add to that and sort of say the issues kind of go back to almost the people behind the law firms and everything like that, because they've got to understand and buy into this first, right? And, you know, this is not going to be a space for everyone. So, you know, if you know someone who is knee-deep in regulation, right? This is not going to be the area for them.
Correct.
And I've had those conversations where I've had that pushback, and I've, with hope and opportunity, kind of gone, no, but this is the future, and they've gone, not for me. So we actually have to make that conversation more sought after, more involved, and more understood by all different areas before even the pen is put to paper on how we can change.
Correct, because what we see is that's happening are the law firms are stepping in to defend their Fortune 100, Fortune 500 clients, right? And so what our platform is doing is we're saying, okay, let's not go to the corporations, let's go to the artists, let's go to the creators, let's go to the people that are actually making these things and tell them, hey, you have the ability to have ownership and make money, right? And so you tell a pre-existing artist, whether they're fresh or they're seasoned, and you say, hey, there's a need for you to create tracks for NFTs. Would you be willing to do that? Well, I'd have to go through my agent or manager. What if I told you you didn't have to go through your agent or manager? They're on board, right? When you start to cut out that middleman and you tell them that, hey, 100% of what you make is yours, that's a foreign concept in entertainment, right? And so that's the power of NFTs.
Yeah, and to build on that again, just giving the other side of the story, those record managers, those artist galleries, those game publishers, they're quaking in their boots about what's going to happen for their job and the future of their industry. So we will always have this kind of pushback at the same time. But again, through education and letting them think a bit more laterally about how they can utilize their role within the Web3 space will stop them from putting a hard stop into this. And that's one of the things that I think we need to kind of consider as well.
So the way to do that, I think, is really the equitable distribution of value. And this is one of the greatest thing about, call it blockchain, Web 3.0, is really how you democratize things and you create value for all those who participate. It's an old concept, the concept of RACI model, so responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. It's really getting people into those spaces and getting to understand what's in it for them. So I think it's very important for us as we move forward to really look at what I call the human-centric design. We haven't been doing enough of that. There is a lot to be gained from this, but we need to also, in a way, design and understand what can that person gain from it. So one of the things I'd like to say, I have a blockchain in Haiti. My farmers got paid, well paid, but none of them had a smartphone. What they needed was communication. So we need to start looking at those things. So creating an NFT doesn't mean that you need to have a smartphone. You need to be able to provide that data. And this is why I really talked about no files, really. It's that data which is clear. We have been, for the last few years, hearing about how data is a new gold. It is a new gold because it creates a reality that can be used to create wealth or create ownership. And through ownership is how you can denote what is due to you. And all those middlemen that we call middlemen, it's moving them into what I would say is the Uberization. The Uberization of the industry means that they provide a service because in order to scale, you do need those people. You do need the networkers. And then they get compensated based on the effort. We all have heard of white glove. You know, you can either get the guy with the one van, man, two guys, whatever, coming in, move you, or you can have the team of 10, which makes sure nothing breaks. And so this is where we need to be able to define those things, which means then we need to capture that information.
And I think also from an educational point of view, clarity is key. I don't know how many people have been to a number of different talks here today where, you know, we hear people talking about this is an empowering space, this is great, this is going to be the future for everyone. And I'm sitting there watching these conversations and going, yeah, that's great. How? How are we going to be doing all of this? And it's about breaking that down and simplifying it for people who aren't in this space yet and to explain to them how they can do it. Those middlemen, how can they take their digital twins, apply that to the metaverse? How can we make developing countries access the technology that we are so fortunate to have? all those things that keep people like us up at night are things that we need to kind of break down, work out those solutions for, and then educate on the how. So I'm all for everyone feeling really excited about this space. I think it's great, but I'm kind of a year or so into NFTs, thinking actually now is the time where we need to build, and in order to build, we need to communicate with the how. So if you are speaking to anyone about your projects, your NFTs, your way in which you're coming into the Web3 space, be very conscious of that how, and I think that's really, really important.
To add from your side?
Well, you know, I'm a part of the middleman group.
So how are you doing it?
We come after you and we send you a legal bill, say to pay a $10,000 retainer. But, you know, taking a look at this space, again, from the legal perspective and hearing you say how, I see that there's an incredible opportunity for people that are new to NFTs to really get involved. You know, one of the concepts that I've been dealing with, and I don't mind sharing this with people here, is that, you know, the metaverse is going to need furniture. It's going to need carpet. It's going to need desks. It's going to need chairs. It's going to need name brand stuff, a name brand roof or X, Y, and Z. We can start creating those. But it's interesting, you're not seeing an NFT chair going for like, you know, $60,000. Not yet, but it will, right? So it's seeing how anyone could just get on the computer, create anything digitally, and just start selling. Yeah.
And I think you know, we need to be talking more about the metaverse. We are very, very early at this stage. It does look like a game of The Sims. We get it. But that future, that Ready Player One future that we've kind of watched and looked to for where that's going to go with the immersion element of it, this is not going anywhere. It is not a fad. And NFTs are that gateway, that ticket to it. So we've got to think more long term. Yes, there's so much going on in the NFT space right now. You know, there's flips, there's bear markets, there's all this kind of stuff that keeps people thinking, you know, is this a fad? Where is this going to go? What's going to be the future of it? But it's not going to go away. The metaverse is going to get bigger. It's going to get more immersive. We're going to have haptics. We're going to have AR, AI technology that's going to make this something that is part of our everyday lives. And everyone sat in this room right now has the opportunity to build in it. And it's that how that's going to be incredibly important.
Imagine everything in a metaverse, right? Every item that you see or anything on Web3 is attached to an NFT. Yeah. Imagine that world, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's a game or whether it's a simulation or whether it's meta mansions that I'm now seeing. Like, people are now selling real estate, right? And it's interesting where, you know, if you take a look at everything on that screen, somebody owns it and someone's making money from it. That's the future. That's where we're headed.
But I actually would like to bring it back to capitalization also. One of the things that we're starting to see is what I call purpose NFT, creating communities which are providing. So, you know, us as women, and I will say, I'm finding it difficult. You know, that 2.3% now down to 1% getting funded is a weight on my head. It may be reality, but it becomes a bigger reality. But now think about this new mechanism for raising funding with also creating purpose. So really looking, and this is something I'm looking to play in, to actually use those funds to make the difference that I want to make. And it's about creating commerce, not giving money away, but giving people opportunities to actually better themselves. And then the other thing about it is now this is a Web 3.0. So unlike the past where, you know, or what has just happened, where money seems to disappear, you start having accountability and transparency, whereby you're showing where those funds are going and how you're making a difference. It also allows you, in a different way, to be agile in terms of your pivot. Because right now, if you are a company and you're funded, you need to go to your board and you need to go to your investors and say, I need to do this. Now you can actually ask your community, and this is where DAOs come in. And how do we, you know, DAOs, right now we hear about them really about raising money to buy constitution or to buy things. But let's imagine DAO, which helps shape
communities and shape the direction of a community and help understand all the needs of the different members of the community. And I think this is where we're going to be seeing it. And really, it's about the capitalization of work of individual, but also capitalization of companies. And that then puts an onus on the organization to engage with that community. And that's what we're going to see the new NFT. Crypto market crashed, but I don't believe the NFT market crashed.
No, there was a really interesting talk about the state of NFTs this morning, and I think one of the big things to take away from it is we kind of work in a slightly different way to crypto, right? So although crypto is the enabler for NFTs, we're still seeing the fact that this is a digital asset that will have value, will continue to have value, and it's from what I've seen, the community is key, right? And market sentiment, which probably lends itself to why people say, oh, this might be people like Bill Gates, who came on and said that this is a Ponzi scheme, and he kind of, I suppose agrees with that kind of sentiment. You can understand why. The more hype there is around something, the more people get rich, the more people buy into it, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, I kind of see it as you're holding something that has value for the long term. The ups and downs of the crypto market doesn't really faze me at all, because actually the return on investment from everything that a utility from an NFT can give me, and this is the thing that I really like to concentrate on, is that element of it, because that's where businesses and brands can really benefit for their own tribe, their own communities, is adding that value, and that goes beyond what a candlestick graph will show you, and I think that's really important.
Right. It's almost as though it's like you're saying now to like the major brands, it's let's test the community rather than test our marketing dollars, right? Where you're able to now take a look at a product that you're trying to roll out, and instead of saying like, we're going to put $40 million behind it, let's go straight to the people that love us, that like us, and let's see what they want, and let's talk to them, and let's engage them, because that's what it's about.
But unfortunately, some brands, and this is what I think is really interesting and what makes my job really interesting, is that although they understand their community within Web 2, when you move that into a Web 3 space, they try to move too fast. They don't take the time to invest in their community. They don't take the time to really think about how they're going to benefit that community in the long run. They just want to get that drop out there.
Right. You can't, in Web 3, you can't buy followers.
No.
And you can't buy the likes. Right?
And like getting your Instagram.
Right. It's unlike your current social media standards, you can't buy these things, right? So you have to go in there with the right intention, right? With a proper procedure, with a correct protocol as well, so that you can really target and reach your audience.
So we are at the time, I can't believe this has gone so fast. And I really hope that we have ignited in you the possibility of where we think the space is going. We're at its infancy, and I believe there is a lot more to be done. And it is going to be a Web 3, or some people are saying a Web 5. Can't get to my head around that yet, but this is where all of us are part of this journey, and it's important for us to really think about how we go beyond and achieve more. And as was said, really education is key, and making clear that you understand the why and how you're doing this.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.